Welcome to Let Him Cook, Nigel. A hell of an episode. We're at a nice little spot in the season, coming off of a top 5 Marquette win. We've got Cyhawk to preview, and then throw in a little Jackson State, a little get-right cupcake warm-up game, if you will, in between. We're going to get to all of it. But first, Nigel has told me very little about what he's about to say next. Basically, I'm just going to tee him up, and we'll see where he takes it. Timothy Chalamet. Nigel just said he wanted to speak on it. He had something to say, so go ahead.
Yeah, so the actor, some may know as the guy from Dune, Willy Wonka.
Sure.
The goods, Broadway kid, just white theater kid from New York. I mean, to the T. Comes out on college game day and just starts talking ball. I felt like, who does this guy think he is? Like, to a degree, he was breaking down shit I've never even heard of. Who's Danny Navarro? What do you mean, Danny Navarro? Like, he's breaking down what secondary coverage Miami of Ohio is going to be in, and what Ohio can bring to the game as an offense. And he's the only person at the table surrounded by college legends, except Pat McAfee. He makes the right call. 38-3. Those guys weren't even. Oh my God, Nick Saban was up there. So right. Everyone has that initial reaction, right? Like, Timothy Chalamet knows ball, and at first, the hater in me started working overtime. I was like, he doesn't know ball. He's an actor. Like, he does this. He remembers scripts, and his PR team just went in there, gave him a few stats, and he's just regurgitating, right? I thought, hey, this is a great PR stunt to show he's more well-rounded. It can give him a new base of fans, kind of like Taylor Swift with the football crap. But here is the kicker. Go ahead. Take your time. Here's the kicker, Dylan. The kicker was on Twitter. Someone dug up a tweet from 2012. How old were you in 2012?
13.
13? I was 11.
Okay.
From 2012, Landry Fields. I don't know if you remember him. He was a great New York Knick, kind of in that mellow era, The beginning of the mellow era. He tweets out, "Me and my friend, we have free tickets to tonight's game. All you have to do is find where we are in the city and answer 4 trivia questions." It was just answer a bunch of trivia questions, and we'll give you the tickets. It can be anybody. Mind you, Twitter doesn't have the legs it does now, so you just had to be on. You just had to be there to even catch that moment in history. So Landry Fields is essentially saying to the public, pull up. No one pulls up except wee little lad Timothy Chalamet, answers all 4 questions, poses up with the dudes, and they're like, this kid knows ball. So he's clearly, I owe him an apology for hating, because I honestly was not familiar with his game. Came out swinging, and he had receipts. Dog, bravo. It was a full circle moment for me as a hater. And I hope that if you are out there hating, I get it. It's recreational for a lot of us. But if it's what you do, if it's how you get your rocks off, when you lose, you got to just eat it. And I had to eat it, So shout out to Timothy Chalamet, excuse me. Wonka was a dud, but his ball knowledge is not. So shout out to him.
Hey, when you brought it up, I was like, he's reading cue cards, because I also didn't believe it. I did not have this insider knowledge. And I know my limits, Nigel, as a tall, skinny white dude. I can't sit up here and talk about the gridiron. That's not my space. But I don't know how tall Mr. Timothy is. I'm guessing 5'7", because everyone in Hollywood is short. But good for the brand. Shout out to skinny white dudes knowing random sports knowledge, because God, do we have that corner of the world on lock. Good for us.
White dudes are taking dubs all weekend. I don't know if you guys watched the conference championship game, but we got murdered by a guy named Cameron who has a neck the size of the tree outside of my house. Man. So tough tough way to go out of Big 12 play from the football team. Nonetheless, great season. Congrats, fellas. But Miami's gonna be a tough one, so we'll see how we match up in that one.
Just the other kind of news of the day. I don't know if you've got thoughts on this. I certainly do. Number 1 recruit in the country, AJ Debonsa.
I've said Debonsa, but I could be wrong.
To BYU, allegedly a $7 million deal to get him to the Cougs into the Big 12. Nigel, here's my thing. This is my take on it. Get your money. I'm all for it. And I was tweeting at you about Cooper Flagg. I was giving you a hard time. Here's the thing I appreciate about Cooper Flagg. He went to Duke. He knows he's playing college ball for a year. He's going to have every spotlight on him. He's going to be the white guy at Duke, which is one of the most pivotal kind of spots you can be in college basketball. Christian Laettner, JJ Redick, the list goes on. And I don't love, and I know like the rich get richer. Like Duke has had a million NBA players, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, your blue bloods. BYU, not a basketball powerhouse by any means. A good program, don't get me wrong, a good atmosphere. But it kind of feels like when Ben Simmons went to LSU or when Cade Cunningham went to Oklahoma State. I mean, it's just not the same. And like to the casual college basketball fan, which I am not, I told Nigel before this game, shout out Tom Turner for putting me on a Rhode Island Brown. I was also watching some Monmouth Princeton, a little St. Joe's Charleston. But to the casual basketball fan, I don't know if they're tuning into a BYU Arizona State game on ESPNU at 8 o'clock. And if it was Kansas, you're getting the casual viewer, whether they're from the East Coast, West Coast, the Rockies, they're tuning in because it's Kansas. So we're in a new era of college basketball. I think we're going to see this more and more. We're going to see the number 1 guy go to these random schools that are willing to pay $7 million for 1 year of basketball. But I was just kind of bummed by the decision. He picked BYU over, I think, Kansas, Carolina, and Alabama. And Alabama, honestly, in the same conversation of they have a lot of NIL, but not notoriously a basketball school.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's so many avenues we can go down with this topic. But the thing about this is, like, for me personally, regardless of where there's some top 5 recruits that when they list their top 6, top 5, I can tell right then and there, I'm going to hate this kid. Yeah. Because in Debonsa's list, I mean, it was all teams I hated. Like, even now, I don't really like BYU, just given that they're an annoying team you have to play now in the Big 12. And their style of play is kind of, at least last year, was our Achilles heel. So it was just like, oh, God, we got to play BYU. So you throw in a demon on that roster of, let's face it, I mean, stereotypical white dudes who can shoot the ball, and they're just very fundamentally sound. You throw in a guy who can just be the guy, that makes that program a lot much stronger. I know they have a guy that's high in the mock draft this year. Forgot his name, number 3. He's a guard, but he can shoot the skin off the ball. But I say all that to say this. I feel like, to your point, this is a very Ben Simmons, Cade Cunningham-esque move. So in that conversation, though, Anthony Edwards is another guy that I was like, Georgia? But then when I learned more about his family and how his mother and his grandmother passed away early on in his high school career, he just wanted to stay close to his family. That made a lot more sense. And if AJ had a story like this, I could get behind it. Like, say, I don't know, you're a Mormon and you love the church and you don't want to leave the Utah church. Like, okay, cool. You got me there. But no, I believe he's from the Bahamas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he goes to high school in Utah, but he just lives there with his dad, and then his mom and his sisters live across the country. I don't know about the Bahamas part, but they don't live with him in Utah. Yeah,
no brother from Bahamas is a Mormon. I'm sorry. I'm not an expert, but I'll bet money. I'll bet every cent I have on that. But yeah, weird move. The way I look at it was like, I wasn't going to like that kid anyway, because it's like, it'd be 10 times worse. Like, we say it's weird, but it'd be 10 times worse if he went to Carolina or Kansas. If this kid went to Kansas, dog, somebody take me out behind the woodshed and do me a favor. end me now.
And here's the thing: if he went to Kansas, I'm gonna hate him. I hate Kansas. Yeah, I like BYU again. Like, just because of how they play basketball, it's annoying to play them. I don't hate BYU. We have no history with BYU. I don't really care about BYU. But for them to get the, and to DeBance's credit, he said like their coach, the name escapes me, new coach with Pope going to Kentucky. He's a former NBA assistant. Almost everyone in that program is like NBA, has an NBA history. So he's like, basically, I want to get ready for the league. There's a bunch of people on BYU staff that have been in the league that know what it takes. That's why I chose BYU. But he also chose them for $7 million. I'm not knocking a kid's hustle. Capitalize on your money. You don't know when you're going to get, God forbid, an injury that changes your career. Like, make the money, capitalize on your talents. But like I said, like, him at Kansas or North Carolina is front page every single night. And BYU, again, it's like, oh yeah, that really touted like number one player in the country chose BYU, and now we have to play. It's a different feel.
Yeah, and the reality is, like, there are going to be some number one guys. And again, most of the number one guys in recent years have gone to Duke. But the reality of it is like it's like us when we're debating different topics in group chats. Like, sometimes people are just doing things to be different. And how can I set myself apart from this tremendous draft class? Because even this upcoming draft class is going to have a lot of star power. Like, it's not going to be like last year where it was kind of a dud. Like, outside of Jared McCain and Don't Connect, no one is making a lot of noise. But nonetheless, both of those teams suck. So that they're just getting more opportunity. Like, if we're being honest. But the next two draft classes, I believe, with Cooper being the head of this one, loaded. And then next year, the year after that, will be the Boozer twins and those guys. So, like, you have to kind of set yourself apart. And I think we're seeing it in teams like Duke, where, look, you got 5-star Isaiah Evans, didn't sniff the floor against Kentucky and Kansas, comes out against Auburn and becomes the Achilles heel to the Tigers. I mean, that performance out of someone who is a 5-star but isn't playing at a blue blood school is not guaranteed. You know, that's just right time, right place, right opportunity. And I think if you're AJ, you have to think like, I'm not this knockdown shooter. Like, I'm known for my athleticism. I'm known for my, like, the guy, I believe you drove baseline and did a windmill. Like, he's doing 2K crap out there, bro. Like, who is this kid? Like, that kind of guy has to be around a team who can shoot the ball, can just help pad his stats, really. Like, so it in a way, it makes sense. But again, I think it comes down to how loaded are the classes around me, and how can I differentiate myself from the crowd? So I think it's just guys just trying to be different. But again, Danny Ainge, I'm praying for your pockets, man, because you played in the 80s. I know you got to save all the money you made. It sounds to throw that on AJ is crazy.
The owner of the Utah Jazz also is giving a substantial amount of money to the BYU basketball program from what it sounds like. So
and
they've got deep
another
pockets.
Crazy aspect is that now NBA teams can essentially treat local schools as farm teams, and through NIL, they can get all the money they want to get these kids. Because think about it. You think it's some coincidence that, once again, a brother from the Bahamas is living, like, going to high school in Utah is crazy, let alone college. Yeah. Why is he going to high school in Utah? Like, that should have been red flag number one. Like, in my head, today really didn't shock me. I saw this kind of coming, but I also wouldn't have been surprised if he picked Carolina or Kansas. But I saw on Sports Center today, Stephen A. Smith said something to him about Duke, and he was like, "Why can't I play Duke at BYU?" Bet. Remember that, AJ. Remember that. Next topic.
All right, let's get it. We got a big slate today, Nigel. We're going to talk about Marquette. I was in beautiful 70-degree Hilton Coliseum last Wednesday. That place
with the cold too, weren't you?
Yeah, let's still have it a little bit. If I'm coughing, my apologies. I was outside in the Iowa State Kansas State football game for a very cold evening, and I'm still feeling the effects, but we fight on. We fight on, Nigel. It was awesome. It was a good atmosphere, a whiteout. Iowa State's wearing the throwback white uniforms. And before we get into the actual game, one thing that struck me was during warmups, Marquette was, and like, credit to them, I think they're a great team. They were dancing, they were laughing, they were joking around, they were having a good time. Back in my head, I'm like, I don't think they know what's about to happen here. I don't think they are, like, I don't think they know what this place is. It was just a sense of, I don't know if they know what they're about to deal with. And
I don't know if they're familiar with belt to ass.
Yeah, they're about to learn. And again, Shaka Smart, I think he just brings good vibes, and I'm not one to, that's a sign of a positive locker room and good chemistry. All those guys were getting along out there, but I was like, you guys are in for a long night. Win or lose, it is not going to be a fun 40 minutes in Hilton Coliseum. And they were just dancing, they were laughing, they were going through layups, they were trying to hit dunks. I was like, we'll see. They're doing I think it's Glorilla. Friday night.
That is Sexy Red.
Is it? Anyways,
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
They were getting down. I don't know if that's like the team. I don't know if that's the one they play in the locker room before they come out, but every dude knew every lyric to that song.
Yeah. No, I mean that, and it's funny that I was able to get the TV perspective. You were able to get the under the basket perspective. You probably heard a lot more, got to just pick up on a lot more things. So I was happy you got to do that, man. Gritty ass performance out of you. Shout out to you, man.
Flu game.
Flu game, but you still had 38 and we got the dub. So that's all that matters. But yeah, no, I thought I thought Wednesday as a whole was a very distracting day. I think for anyone who really enjoys just college basketball in its whole, like the only really captivating game I would say on Tuesday was Kentucky Clemson. And I didn't even stay up to watch that whole thing. But Wednesday was just box office, like from start to finish. It was just really good gameplay. And then all the teams you want to lose lost. Yeah. And it was beautiful. Well, let's go down the list. Iowa State win. Duke win. Kansas loss. Kentucky loss. UNC loss. Yeah. Who am I? Oh, Auburn loss. Yeah. To who? Duke. Yeah. So it's just like, man, like God was like, here you go, son. And I was like, thank you. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but honestly, after Maui, I felt like I deserved it. I don't know about you, but it just felt like the perfect day as a fan, like just to reflect. But as we dive into the game, man, Keshon Gilbert, man, heart and soul, this team. Like, I really thought it'd be Taman. I really thought it'd be Taman this year. But I also told you on episode 1 of this season that I really had a great feeling that Keshon Gilbert was going to win Big 12 Player of the Year. Now he's in the National Player of the Year conference. Dude, what? Are we in the right universe? Like, it pinched me. It doesn't feel real. But the performance he had against Marquette was storybook. I mean, 24 points, 7 assists. They gotta make him bleed just to get him out the game for a second. He comes back in a walk-on jersey, no name on the back, crazy as hell, and continues to just lead his team to a victory. And then, of course, Josh Jefferson, the transfer from St. Mary's, had the Holy Spirit with him as he puts he put the Eagles in a spin cycle. 15 and 12. Come on, man. And then Curtis Jones, 14 off the bench. Dude. Like, it's just like everything's clicking. Like, the fact that we won convincingly, despite the comeback, I understand we were very upset in the moment about I think it was 63-63 tie game at one point. 61-61 at the tie game at some point. But that's what we want to do. We want to be able to weather the storm, handle a comeback, and then push that lead out back up to 10. And we did that. So it's like every mistake we made against Auburn, we just cleaned it up. And that's all I could ask for, because that's a hard turnaround from Maui to Marquette. Like, there's not a lot of wiggle room for mistakes. So to be that on, even with Taman, again, in my opinion, I'm concerned, going forward. Like, do we sit him out? I thought Jackson State would have been a great day to sit him out. You could have started Kate Kelderman against those boys. But I say all that to say this, like, it was just a complete win. And I love the cushion that we now have going into Carver Arena, which I don't know if you guys remember last time we were there, we kind of shit our pants. So don't want to let that happen again. But yeah, want to also give out a big shout out to Nate Heisey. I've been saying his name wrong. I've been inconsistent with his name. Heisey. I was not familiar with your game, brother. I'm sorry. Yeah. You had boys in hell. You had boys in jail. Like, my new nickname for that boy is the Warden, because he's got people in prison. He did a phenomenal job on Cam Jones and the rest of their guards, making winning plays. I mean, it's like we did the best we could to replace Caleb Grill, considering the situation. And it just seems like we've also just added more ammo to the gun. And this team is just so much more complete than last year. Even in last year was a great team. Like, I'm not taking away any of that, but it's just like to have Deshaun and Jefferson in the starting lineup, making us a tad bit bigger. It takes that pressure off Milan to not have such a responsibility on his shoulders to go out there and just dominate. Like, it's awesome if he does. We're going to need it down the stretch of the season, but not every night's going to have to be your night. And that's the benefit that both Jackson and Jefferson bring to this team. So once again, very happy that we were able to get the dub, but also the elephant in the room, dude. Duke did what the Cyclones couldn't and gave the Auburn Tigers their first loss. So, and the way it happened, Isaiah Evans, dude, bravo. He lived my dream. I was always a realist. Like, as growing up as a kid, I always wanted to go to Duke, play for Coach K, the whole nine. And I always wanted it to start off as like I came off the bench and I hit a few threes. And there was just a point in time where the boys who are the number one players in the country, they just start trusting me with the ball, and they just feed me, and I'm on one. And you have a Disney Channel-esque performance. It was beautiful. Just to see that happened to a 5-star recruit. Yeah, like, you can try to not feel bad for that, but at the end of the day, man, when you're not sniffing the floor, that can really take a dig at your confidence when you're not playing. So shout out to him. When Auburn loses, the world wins, and the more they lose, like, yeah, I guess it takes away the loss that we have, but like, dude, anyone in front of us you want to lose. Like Tennessee, they played a baby schedule. Like, I'm not afraid of anybody now. Like, they throw the entire toolbox at me. I don't care. The anxieties I had 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they're gone. Bring it on. That's my mentality going forward. And especially when we walk into Carver Arena on Thursday. Oh my God. It's going to be a bloodbath. We're going to need bags.
So they played Juicy Wiggle. At some point during that 14-0 run, after they were tied 61-61, I get up and go to the student section to get some B-roll. And as I'm sitting down, shout out, I didn't get his name, but he said, "Hey, love the podcast, love Let Him Cook, keep Nigel in check." And Nigel.
What did I do?
Here's the thing. We're talking about Duke Auburn in the middle of an Iowa State Marquette top
Auburn lost. That's the whole point of the situation. I just wanted to point out how cool the Evans situation was. I understand. Sorry.
I love the enthusiasm.
All right.
I hope Chad Baker-Mazara is having a terrible day in Auburn, Alabama.
I could go a full 60 minutes talking about that little twig. Oh my God. He looks like you remember the meme of the Trae Young thing? It was like the lollipop stick that gets stuck on the carpet and it picks up all this hair. That's Chad.
Yep.
You can't be. Oh man, don't even get me started on him. See, you've opened up a can of worms. So I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry to that kid. But yeah, I mean, y'all know what it is. Y'all know who I like.
Let me go down the line here because I'm going to start with Keshon Gilbert. Coming out in the 51 jersey. Nigel, I wanted nothing more than a breakaway dunk in the 51 and then just hang that picture on every seat in Hilton Coliseum for our next home game against Jackson State. He didn't really he had a good pass wearing 51. I don't think he scored a point wearing 51. he should bring that back. That should be an alter ego. If we have like a warrior kind of game where we need Keshon Gilbert, bring out the 51, no last name, and just let him go to work. Honestly, keep that
close against by. Kansas.
Yeah.
Throw it on.
Yep. And then during the Olympics, LeBron, I think it was against France in the gold medal game, had a very similar move to that Joshua Jefferson middle of the paint spin, lay, and one celebration. And Nigel, I tweeted this out. I'm pretty sure you saw it. Maybe looking at it a couple times, he might have been able to kind of out the corner of his eye see that the ball was going to go in. But in real time, I'm sitting right under that basket. He goes for the lay, and then he's just walking towards ultimately the photographers and then eventually the Iowa State bench, and never looked back at the rim to see if it went in or not. But just the crowd losing its collective mind. He knew he made the basket, and it was one of the coldest. Like, didn't say a word, didn't show any emotion on his face, just walked away. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just like chills. It was incredible in there when that lay went in. What else do we got to talk about? Again, Cam Jones, we've talked about Tamin Lipsey, and Nate Heisey also did an incredible job. But, man, Tamin Lipsey's given up 4 to 5 inches height-wise against Cam Jones, probably 20 or 30 pounds, and guarded Cam Jones as well as anyone in the country will the entire year. Cam Jones, bit of a Caitlin Clark night, put up good numbers, just super inefficient. Little stray there. Had 14 points, but he was 6 for 21 shooting, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. Very clearly the best player on Marquette. It's not the same thing with Iowa State where you can have Keshon can hurt you, Curtis can hurt you, Milan can hurt you. They're Cam Jones, and Cam Jones is a hell of a player. Very good chance he's going to be Big East Player of the Year, first team, All-American AP. So, and we might have given him his toughest night in Hilton Coliseum. He's not going to play like that many times this season. Goes to show against Wisconsin, had 32 points on the same amount of shot attempts, 21, went 12 for 21, and beat up on Wisconsin and Milwaukee. So just an incredible defensive performance, whether it was Lipsey, whether it was Heisey. They just did a really good job making his life super difficult. And then again, the other thing that kind of struck me, not at one point in the game did I think we're going to storm the court. And, we're a really good program in the Big 12. I think we probably have the second best venue in the Big 12. And we have just kind of come to expect beating top 10, beating top 5 teams at home. We haven't lost a home game since 2023 at the end of the year. It's been like, I think 600 some days since we've lost a home game. So, we just protect home court. And they got those poor security people out there. I think the median age was about 75, and acting like they're going to stop a storm, like a court storming, which never happened. But they brought him out there, and I was like, I don't think anyone's coming. Like, we took care of business. So just a great win. And like you said, after kind of blowing a lead to Auburn, we blew a lead, and then we bounced back. 14-0 run, kept them an arm's distance away the rest of the game, and just a great finish against Marquette.
Yeah, and also too, I also want to reiterate that my comments earlier about Tamin, I'm just more worried about him because from an offensive perspective. For sure. I understand the impact he's bringing from the defensive part of the ball, and I understand that's why TJ still trusts him out there to start. I'm just like I would like the Tamin Lipsey that can shoot. I would prefer that one because the defense is inevitable. I don't know about you guys, but that too. So that I just want to reiterate that. But also, I'm not saying we should have rushed the court for this game because it was kind of a slap in the face anyway to go leave Maui, come back as a number 6 team, and then not only that, but your game's on ESPN Plus. Terrible. And the other thing that pissed me off, Nigel, I didn't hear the broadcast. I heard this from friends and family. They kept saying this is the highest ranked matchup ever on ESPN Plus. Yeah, because it shouldn't be on freaking ESPN Plus, you idiots. And they have Virginia, Florida on ESPN 2. What are we doing? Virginia hasn't been good since.
What are we doing? That pissed me off. Virginia, Florida should not see the light of day. Florida's a good team this year. Virginia sucks.
No, okay. One could argue they both suck. You know, Virginia sucks as a team. Florida sucks as people because our head coach, I heard about you. We heard about you.
Yeah.
But he was on Tinder getting freaky. And as a basketball coach at a university like the University of Florida, you should never do it. But there on that stage, what are you doing? You're stalking college girls home from class. You have film to watch, bro. See, off of that principle alone, I would have objected in the meeting of when they're determining when we're going to put this game at this time, put this game at that time. That would have been the first piece of evidence I'm bringing up. Are we really going to have an alleged creep on national television and put TJ Otzelberger and one of the best defensive teams on pay-per-view? Like, what is this? What oh, my God.
I would say,
me.
Speaking of one of the best defensive teams, I think Iowa State, you're going to make me go on KenPom.com. I might spend the most hours on KenPom.com of anyone I know, Nigel.
I spend no hours, so that makes you feel better.
Oh, are we? Hold up. Wait a minute. Oh, no. We're 11 on defensive rating now. So now Houston is the only team top 10 in offense and defense. We're 7 in offense, 11 in defense. Tennessee also dropped out. They're 11 in offense now. We were on Monday and Tuesday top 10 in both offense and defensive rating, and that is basically a telltale sign of a national championship caliber team. And that is by far the first time in the Otzelberger era where we've been ranked that high in offense, which kind of leads me to my next point. Basically, the only criticism you can have of TJ Otzelberger in his time here is an inconsistent offense. We struggle to score the ball consistently. We scored 80 plus points every single game this year, even in the loss to Auburn. And to segue, 2 years ago, we beat Jackson State 47-37. We only scored 47 points against Jackson State. Let that sink in for a second the next time you watch Iowa State basketball. How far we've come in 2 years offensively is crazy. And, I mean, we didn't have a Keshon Gilbert 2 years ago. That's for damn sure. We also didn't have a Milan Momcilovic or a Curtis Jones. I mean, we're seeing just such offensive firepower.
The only person we had was Taman and Demarion.
I mean, Gabe, on this team.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, those are freshman versions of the players they are now. So
yeah, and Taman basically got thrusted into that starting role because Tyrese Hunter left. I mean, Tyrese Hunter was slated to be the starting point guard that year until he transferred. Yeah. So what a turnaround it's been, because we offensively look as good as anyone, especially when we have it going. The first half against Marquette and Auburn, who are two good defensive teams, we were lighting them up. We were getting anything we wanted. We were getting the paint. We were shooting threes. Milan was getting to his mid-range. I mean, we were getting anything we wanted. Curtis with a little floater. We got everything. We have so many weapons on this offense now. It's so fun to watch. And then we still have that intensity on defense to go on a 14-0 run when we need to. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, and like you said, 14-0 run, like that's the kind of response it's going to take. Because I just knowing how the Big 12 keeps expanding each year, I know that is not going to be the last time someone comes back on you on a lead. Like, yeah, and given our personnel, it's just kind of bound to happen. Like at this point, guys, we can't be shocked anymore. Like that's like a characteristic. It's like us last year not being able to guard the three. Like, yeah, we know that's a weakness. Like, how are we going to respond to it? That a 14-0 run is how you respond to it. And I'm not saying it's going to happen every time, but let's try to get things going. Let's do what's working. And with this team, when all else fails, get to the rack. Like, you got, like, even if Taman his shoulder is really going to be a long-term issue, like, when I've seen him get to the rack, he's still finishing with confidence at the most part. And then Keshon's a whole nother story when it comes to getting the rack. It's barbecue chicken. Man. And then Curtis Jones, float game, unreal. Yep. Like, and then really Milan too. Like, I know it's not really like getting to the rack, but in his state, like, it kind of is. Like, when he gets that nice mid-range baseline jumper or the pump fake to the elbow, it's money. Like, there are just certain things that we can do now offensively that our guys have to be aware of their own capabilities. Like Josh Jefferson, you've proven now you can kind of go at all three levels. Let's keep doing that. Even Deshaun Jackson, like we finally have a big who can consistently score around the basket and most importantly, make his free throws. Like that's a game changer. So I just feel like we have all the pieces. Now it just comes down to executing and again, just weathering the storm. Because I'm not saying there's going to be rough parts of the season. There will be. But how are we going to respond? And how we responded on Wednesday was beautiful. And guess what? Now we're the number 3 team in the country and the highest ranking we've ever been in school history.
Ty, do you want to know the last time we were ranked this high? Do you know?
I'm going to guess it was during Prohibition. No. Last time we went to the Final Four, it was 44, right?
Yeah.
1944.
Yeah.
So, gotta say, late 40s?
I think 57 or 58, off of a win against Kansas, whose star player was Wilt Chamberlain. So we haven't been ranked this high since Wilt Chamberlain was in college. It's been a while. Nigel.
We still haven't seen the tape, so.
Yeah. Did he really score 100?
Was he really at Kansas? Nobody knows.
I wasn't there. I'll tell you that much, Nigel. All right, let's lightning round through Jackson State because them boys, they came into Hilton Coliseum, they got smacked around, and then they got sent on their next road game. They don't play a home game until January, Nigel. They haven't played a home game all year. Yeah. That is rough. And they had a rough game. They were down a couple of starters. And it was basically a name to look out for in the transfer portal. This is about my one takeaway from Jackson State. Dorian McMillan might show up on a Power 5 school next year because he can hoop. He had the greenest green light I've ever seen, and dude was pulling up from everywhere on the court and just seeing what went in. And the one like actual kind of analysis that I took away from this game, especially in the second half, I think TJ just told Momcilovic, hey, you're going to guard him, and we're not helping you. And ultimately, you can do that. This game was already won, and McMillan's a good player. And like he's on a bad team, but he can hoop. And forcing Milan to be like, go shut him down with not real. I mean, this game, it was non-consequential. I mean, the game's whatever. But just challenge yourself. Tell yourself, I can't let this guy score, because there's going to be a time in Big 12 play where you get switched on to a first-team Big 12 wing, and Momcilovic is going to have to get a stop. And I think that was good coaching, and he brought it. I mean, McMillan really struggled in the second half. So credit to Milan. I think he took that upon himself to play well defensively in the second half. Beyond that, we blew their brakes off. Tough night for Jackson State.
Yeah, I mean, these 0-10 teams by early December,
tough.
I mean, you better have a guy just chucking. That's all you have. Let's have something. You don't want to show up with it, nothing. But Jackson State's on a money tour. That's all. They're just collecting checks and paying respects. That's all. God bless them. Stronger than me, because oh my God, those brothers are starving. Anywho,
what do you think Mo Williams is telling those guys at halftime? That is Cleveland Cavaliers point guard Mo Williams. What is being said in the locker room?
You know what? I don't know, because what can you say? Like, I
get that money.
I'm telling you this: being a part of the 2-22 Iowa State COVID team,
never forget.
You'd think that would be the most miserable time for those kids, right? Yeah. Like, as bad as that was to try to go through as a fan, you think, oh man, but those kids, I mean, who knows? They're all going to be probably entering the portal. No one's going to want them because, again, you can score 20 points, but your team's 0-10. Yikes. I don't know if I'm going to take a bite on that. Like, it's just a scary bet when you're in the transfer portal and that's all you have to show. But you would think that, my point was, you would think that, oh, these kids are having the worst year of their lives they've ever played in basketball. No. COVID test and all. Those guys were joking and laughing and like just having a good time. Like, and honestly, like it got to the point where it's like, I respect that. Because if you go back and look at a lot of those games, we were in a lot of those games.
They were
like, it took Austin Reeves heroics to beat us at home. There was no Hilton Magic there, but it was at home. Okay. I saw it. He hit the dagger. Like it took some questionable officiating, which is not new, and a loaded Big 12 class with a lot of NBA talent. So it was just a bad year to be us, you know, and a lot of those guys ended up fine. Razier went to Gonzaga, had a good career. He's now in Europe. Like J. Cole went and won a national championship the next year at Kansas. Like those guys found their way. It's okay. So I think that was like, if you're to answer your question, if you're Mo Williams, there's not much to say. You kind of say the casual coach things to say in a situation on what you could improve on, but he knows he's not winning that game. Like you know why you're here. You know why we haven't played a home game in 10 games, because what's the point? Like until we get into conference play, there's no point in playing at home. No one's going to come watch. Like it's going to be a joke. So yeah, I think the morale, it's funny because it's like the morale is always opposite of what you assume as a fan on these shitty teams. Like it's usually a lot more loose. And I know that probably bothers some fans, but it's a lot more easygoing than others would assume. Yeah.
And middle of that, I was going to be like, well, that might have been the problem, that it was like that they weren't a little more. It could have been, but man,
like to think about how much Hilton plays a factor in us not losing a game. Like the people TJ's gone out and gotten in the transfer portal have been monumental, but let's not discredit the fans and the students that they're not doing their part too. And when that was taken away, a place like Hilton loses its aura.
Right.
Like it just becomes another gym. And when you see like 4-7 fans in the top bowl, Jesus Christ, is it depressing? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, when is this going to end, dude? This is crazy. But again, I just think like, if you're Mo Williams, not much to say. Collect the check, pay your respect, get out of here. Let's get out of Ames, Iowa. If you're Jackson State, I don't know if you guys want to be there too long. Not saying it's an unsafe area, but just I don't think that's kind of their niche, you know.
It's not safe to play basketball against because they got that ass whooped.
Clearly. Yeah, no, it was a joke. But what ain't a joke is what we're gonna do to them corn boys out east in Iowa City on Thursday.
Yeah,
let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, so we got Cy-Hawk, Bill Raftery, Mr. Onions, Mr. March on the call. That's a big deal. Last year, Nigel, I was at this one as a fan. I forgot how out of hand that game got. 90-65 was the final score, and we were up 30 points early. It was out of hand early in that place. And being that it was Iowa, the place never really died down. I mean, it was just constant noise and just, I was eating it up. It was one of my favorite Iowa State versus Iowa, any sport of any kind, because it was so out of hand, it became funny. It became a comedy show.
No, you're right. And since we're on the topic of that, it reminded me so much of TJ's first time as head coach when they played Iowa with Brockington. And I was in that crowd. And when we were winning, the way we were winning, like it was everyone was doing a little bit of something. Then Brockington makes the coach's son fall, hits the earth, shakes his head, walking back. Dude, that I made the comment to myself while I was also having a heart attack. I was like, I don't know how we're gonna like top this. Like this is year one. My God. And then I saw year two. I'm like, yep, I knew it. And then year three came and I'm like, dude, I didn't know you could get a better win than you did in year one, but TJ managed to do so. It was brutal. But yeah, no, I can't imagine like a lot of those guys, a lot of Iowa's team returned just like we did. But if that's the case, and that was the result last year, please, everyone, please, moment of silence, pull out your Bibles. Let's pray. They're going to need it.
And
Dog,
here's the
it's gonna
thing.
be, and also I don't know if you saw the Sham God against the Michigan Wolverines in
I did see
transition. Did you see that?
That was tough.
Oh my God! Talking about touching
That was
earth.
tough. Yeah.
That's the Hawkeye signature move is dance, dance, twister revolution.
Yeah. Yeah. He's playing Twister.
Tremendous. Yeah, no, let's blue, right hand blue. That's the Hawkeyes defense.
Brutal.
But since I brought up the Hawkeyes defense, we were talking about some stats earlier about Iowa. Let's again, you're the Ken Pom nerd. I'm not gonna act like I am. Let's talk a bit about, like, from a logistics standpoint, why Iowa is just so undermatched in this upcoming game on Thursday.
So here's the thing. Iowa historically has kind of had these anomaly 3-point shooting games against us where, yes, our defense...
At Carver, right? At Carver?
Right. Correct. And, if we have a slow rotation, they are going to get open threes. But again, it's anomaly shit. I mean, they shoot like 70% as a team, and you're like, how the hell is that even, like, statistically, that should not happen. But even if they do, there's a couple of flaws that I find very intriguing as an Iowa State fan. If I was a fan of the other team, I would find very concerning. Mainly, they are a terrible rebounding team. They are one of the worst rebounding teams in the country, bottom 50 of all teams, all 368. And the other thing that might even be more concerning, because we kind of saw it against Marquette. Ben Gold was kind of their rim protector, just that long, lanky, but he really couldn't hold his own against either of our bigs. I mean, he just has a high wingspan and probably a good block percentage, probably going to get 2 blocks a game. Iowa doesn't have a rim protector. But again, it's not. Yeah, their 2-point percentage defense is 327th. That was before the game tonight. It might even fall further. And the one thing that tells me is Keshon Gilbert, go to the paint, get around those guards, and just go to the rim. And whether you finish it, whether you pass it to Jefferson or Jackson and they finish it, the rim is where we need to win the game, because they have not defended the rim this season, and we're really good at attacking it. And that it seems so simple, but that's really the key to the game, I think, is go straight at them with your athleticism, with your size, and just dunk it, play, spin dribble, put back, give them the business. I mean, we should own the paint, scoring and rebounding on Thursday.
Yeah, no, and the rebounding why I was so bad at rebounding is getting me more and more excited, because think about the tallest guy in the lineup in the starting lineup and the smallest guy in the starting lineup. One's Deshaun, who is Armando Bacot with ankles.
Yep. Shout out.
Words, but shout out. And then Taman Lipsey, Pitbull, has a broken shoulder, doesn't care, still gonna go get a rebound. Josh Dix, I pray for you. You get so much sleep because you're gonna need it. From the beginning you wake up, I just want you to know that is going to be one of the worst days of your life. Okay, I'm making a PSA right now to not only you, but your backcourt mate, Brock Harding, Moline native. Shout out Illinois.
Yep.
But this is not Northwestern. This is a totally different ball game. The refs will not bail you out. Your drunk fans won't bail you out. Chris Hassel won't bail you out. It won't matter. It's going to be a bad night, all right? And I just need you guys to mentally prepare and just take it like a man, okay? Because you have it coming. If you thought we don't remember what happened in 2022, you have another thing coming. Also, too, for the first time in a minute, the women's team is better than the Iowa women's team. We'll see. I understand. No Caitlin. I like those odds. It'd be great. It'd be great if both teams could come on a Carver with a dub. That's all.
It would be great. The other, just going back into the stats here, would you believe me if I said, as a team, the Iowa Hawkeyes are shooting 66% from the free throw line? 66.
Historically, no. But But with this group, I believe it. Like, I'm not shocked.
The other thing is, I mean, they are a good 3-point shooting team. They have a lot of good pure shooters. Those aren't the guys getting fouled. Owen Freeman's getting fouled, and he can't shoot free throws. And their bigs are getting fouled, and they can't shoot free throws. So if this comes into a close game, which Ken Pom has us as 5-point favorites, I don't think the line is out yet from Vegas. Like, if it comes down to free throws, we've been... got a wooden table here, knock on wood, a good free throw shooting team. They have not been. And a lot of their guys don't even have volume at the charity stripe this year. And then another thing, I mean, both teams elite turnover margins. Iowa doesn't really turn the ball over at all. And then they actually, not known for their defense over there in Iowa City, but they're top 20 in forcing turnovers. Iowa State better offensively and defensively at turning the ball over, but that's what we do. I mean, we don't turn it over, and we just cause havoc on defense. So, and then the other thing,
one thing that can get us in trouble is being in. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't let you finish. On my bad.
Just like a good 3-point shooting team. The other, I would guess most Iowa State fans are most familiar with Peyton Sandfort just because he's been there the longest. He's a Metro kid, only shooting 30% from the 3-point line this year. Historically, a much better 3-point shooter than that, but he's kind of struggled to find his shot this season.
Yeah, word on the street is he struggled since the draft combine.
Yeah, had a tough showing at the NBA combine.
The word I heard was embarrassing, but
it was.
You're nicer than I am.
It was not good.
Just a kid from Waukee, I guess.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really am. I'm excited because it's been a minute. When is the last time we won at Carver?
2014.
When I think about Carver, I think of the 22 massacre. I think of the Xavier Foster year. Luka Garza had a masterclass performance.
Yeah.
And then I think of when Michael Jacobson got in a fight with Cordell Pemsel. Is that his name?
Oh, shout out. Pemsel? Totally. What a poll. Yeah, that is his name.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on, man.
Shout out. Pemsel. What's that guy up to?
Shout out to me. Yeah, taking orders in Italy, probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll be probably a busboy somewhere.
The last time Iowa State won in that arena was 2014. Iowa State fans will know it as the Kiss game. The Hawkeye student section was saying things to George Niang that George Niang did not appreciate, blew him a kiss with a little one finger salute. And here's the other thing. That sounds like a crazy long time, Nigel.
That is bro. I was in 7th grade.
I hear you. The Hawkeyes did not win at Hilton Coliseum the first 20 years of my life. And then your boy Jordan Bohannon came into the arena, shot 3 for 11 from the field, maybe 2 for 11. I'll look that up. And left his stupid shoes on the court as Luka Garza, his teammate, Naismith's Player of the Year that did all the actual work, just said nothing and went about his business. And then his dorky point guard left his shoes. Nobody cares about Jordan Bohannon. We got worked by Luka Garza. You didn't do anything. You were out there getting cardio. J-Bo, what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, hate it or love it, I like from a neutral perspective, that team was decent. That team was good. Just gonna go out and say it because
Luka Garza. Luka Garza
to think that. Well, not just him. Like Luka is Luka, right? But then to add on Wieskamp, Bohannon, there were games where Bohannon just had a game, and it was like we can't get off Wieskamp or Garza. Yeah, and then when they had Peter Jacques too, they had some dudes for a minute, and
that Hawkeye team, the Peter Jacques teams. Those were not my favorite, but those teams, Iowa State was really good with Fred Hoiberg's guys, and that was probably McCaffrey's. I mean, I don't know. The other thing about McCaffrey is he's just never good in March, so it's hard to say which was his best era because, I mean, Luka, AP Player of the Year, Keegan Murray, incredible player, but I think a collective team, his best teams were probably mid-2010s when Fred was rocking it.
Yeah, and you're right, because even Luka's best year, which was his senior year, the way they went out in the tournament against Oregon, I'll never forget. I was driving Blake Hinson to practice, and I had him hold my phone. Bro, I was driving. I had him hold my phone, and we're watching Iowa, Oregon. It's like the Sweet 16 round. Bro, Chris Duarte, current Chicago Bull, Puerto Rican machine, was hitting step backs, and Blake, he was like, "Oh my God, they hitting step backs!" Like, it was hilarious. But like, just you're right, they don't perform in March, and they're not going to perform on Thursday. Like, I think the McCaffreys are doing like the most quiet Irish exit out of Iowa City we've ever seen. The fact that they're making Jack go to Butler, Patrick's already there, Connor's dating Caitlin Clark, like they're trying to move to Indiana, and they're just not saying it. The whole family wants to move to Indiana and have Caitlin Clark babies. I get it. I would do the same thing. I totally see the vision. Because could you imagine Caitlin Clark? Connor's what, 6'6"?
Yeah, 6'5", 6'6".
Oh my God. Dude, that's gonna be like a 6'10" boy or a 6'6" girl. Yeah. Unreal. With that mom, oh my God. Dude,
genetics are there. And they're going to play for the Hawkeyes. They're going to play for the Hawkeyes.
They're going to go to Iowa.
That'll be a problem 20 years from now.
Oh, my God.
It'll be a problem.
They never go away. But it's okay. No. Because 2014 is way too damn long to be sitting up here just losing. Every time you drive 2 hours on a bus to lose, guys, it ends here.
That ain't right.
It ends Thursday. It's not okay. We got to do better, and we will do
My
better
takeaway, the Iowa State team that we've seen this far, unless they look completely different than they have all season and do something that we have not seen from them all year, I don't really see how we lose this game. On paper, I don't get it. Attack the basket. I don't think their guards can guard our guards. And even if we let them make 15 3-point shots, I don't realistically see how they can stop us on defense. We might see some 2-3 zone, but then you just let Curtis Jones shoot that thing. Just let him go to work. And then the other thing about Iowa, they don't really play inside out. Like Owen Freeman is a good post player, but he doesn't really have the skill to carve us up like Illinois did or like BYU did. He's not on that level yet. So again, unless I see a completely different, right. He's shooting it or it's a turnover. So unless something miraculous happens that we have not seen all year, I feel pretty confident going into Thursday.
I mean, here's the thing about Carver, though. They also have the best sixth man in the nation, and it's those boys in the stripes. So we know how they like to get bailed out sometimes. I think with our play style, that could put some people in a predicament. So someone who has been prone to getting into foul trouble a lot this year, which is Keshon, that cannot happen on Thursday. I understand you want to play aggressive, but you got to play smart. Like, honestly, given for what he is lacking of on offense, if someone is going to get into foul trouble early, please let it be Taman. Please. Yeah. Like, because at least out of that foul, he's going to cause some disruption and have their guards thinking twice about doing something else. And then Curtis Jones comes in there with fresh legs. I love that. So we just got to stay out of foul trouble. I think Deshaun's got to really just sun Owen Freeman. Like that's got to be a matchup one. And then Milan too. Remind me, because again, I don't watch a lot of Iowa games like from the start. I'll catch some like midway through, or like the Northwestern game I saw like the last 6 minutes. But who is their starting 4 or 3, I should say? Would Stanford be guarding Milan?
Probably. Yeah, Peyton or Price. I mean, he'll see both of them.
I think that because your point from the Jackson State game, the fact that you can get an opportunity where TJ is trying to challenge Milan, that's the pre-test. Peyton Sanford is the real test, and that's a great first test defensively for Milan. And say, man, like I gotta have trust in you, especially come down February, March. Now's the time to show me that you can defend a top player on a good team. Debatable. That was way too big of a compliment just then. But one of their top players Can you guard another team's top player in a high pressure situation? And again, I know I was no team that you're losing sleep over, but again, the rivalries just bring a bit more out of people. And it was shockingly, for the first time in a while, the Hawkeyes have nothing to lose. So if you think they're gonna just lay down, no. They'll try, but I mean, at home, they're just going to have a little bit more juice. So we got to be ready. We got to be locked in. I know I will be. So let's get it.
If I've seen anything from this Iowa State team, my guess is we're going to get off to a really good start. I was going to make a run, and then it comes down to, okay, are we going to separate ourselves like we did against Marquette? Or are we going to make this thing a goddamn mess like we did against Auburn? So I feel like that's just kind of, like you said, that's the formula. And I would much rather get off to a good start than try to make a comeback every single game. I think getting off to a good start has been incredible. That is winning basketball. That is putting yourself in a good situation. And it's whether you can keep that intensity for 40 minutes. And we'll find out. Like you said, I was going to come to play. I'm sure those guys haven't forgotten what happened in Ames. I know I didn't. I loved it, but I don't think they did. So they're going to be ready. Another player I just want to put on Iowa State's radar comes off the bench, transferred from Morehead State, one of the newcomers that they don't have many of. Drew Thelwell played really well against Michigan, and I think we're going to see a lot of him just because of his athleticism and what he brings defensively. Because like you said, I don't think Dix and Harding are going to have a really hard time trying to stop Keshon Gilbert. I don't know if anyone in the country can guard Keshon Gilbert right now, but it's going to be a long night for anyone trying to guard Keshon Gilbert in Iowa City.
No, yeah, without a doubt. And I think this is one of those, and again, I hate that most of my stories have to do with Coach K, but guys, it's the only other fan I am of. But I think this is a game where TJ tomorrow, maybe before they hit the road, tosses on the 2014 game.
Yeah.
And then just has them, no context, sit down in the film room, just watch it. Not the whole game, obviously, but just the highlights, obviously. Just watch it. Turn the lights back on. Like, we haven't done that in 10 years. And then walk into practice. And
then fake a back injury halfway through the season and then have John Shire take over for his team while he just sits at home and pouts.
Faking a back injury is crazy. The man was 67. That's neither here nor there. See how you push the button? See, I don't like talk about Duke forever, but you be trying to sneak in little digs. I hear you.
Same.
No, but one more point before we leave, because we're hitting that hour mark. But I wanted to bring up, because I saw it briefly, but I'm a working man now, so I can't look at everything we're talking about within chats and whatnot. Saw that our respected senior Chris Hassel was trying to troll, making a claim that Iowa State fans weren't making the travel to Iowa City. I want to know, because I'm nosy and I'm just curious. I'm a curious individual. But also for any of our fans out there that don't know, please fill me in on the hoopla. What was that all about?
So I don't remember how it even got started, but a couple years ago, like, Carver Hawkeye has really struggled with attendance for men's basketball. One of the best venues for women's basketball, Caitlin Clark puts butts in seats, obviously. But one of the theories was, well, it's too far away from the Des Moines metro. But if you look at like the population density of Iowa, like 60% of Iowa is east of Des Moines, like population wise. Like between Cedar Rapids, Cedar Falls, Waterloo, Iowa City, Davenport, like there are just bigger cities on the east side of Iowa. And the whole hoopla was like, well, people from Des Moines or Ames or Ankeny or Waukee, wherever in the metro, don't want to drive 2 hours to Iowa City, get back at midnight after a game. And everybody was like, dog, like, you got a bunch of fans with Carver Hawkeye in their backyard, and they're not going either. It's just two different atmospheres, especially on the men's side of the court. Like, Hilton's crazy, and even if Carver is full, it's just not the same kind of environment. It's different.
No, yeah, and that, now that I have context, that seems like a desperation act on Mr. Hassel's part.
So, and like the thing was like. Ames is in central Iowa. We're not going to make the trip to Carver Hawkeye because it's 2 hours away. It was a good troll job. He's excellent at the troll job.
He knows it's coming. That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll revisit that convo on our next pod. But yeah, nonetheless, happy December, Merry Christmas. Dylan, any final remarks? I'm good. I mean, I got my Duke stuff off earlier because Marquette was nice, but dog. Oh man, it was beautiful. It was beautiful to end the night like that, and then to see all the teams that lost, just textbook.
To keep an eye on, Iowa State currently ranked 3rd. If we beat Iowa, they are by far the best team we play until about 2 or 3 games into the Big 12 conference schedule.
Yeah.
And if we only have one loss in early January, and if Tennessee or Auburn lose one more game.
Did Tennessee lose to Miami? Because that was a close game.
Not. They didn't. Okay. They pulled away at the end. But just keep tabs. If we beat Iowa, start to look at Auburn's schedule, Tennessee's schedule, and hope some of those teams collect some losses. Because we don't really have an obvious spot to trip. We have a road game at Texas Tech, and that's kind of the first.
I think road game Colorado might be an issue. I don't like that we've already played them now. I was worried about that, but didn't think it was going to happen. Yeah, I don't like that anymore. But
let's play that one in Maui. Let's see if the Buffaloes want to go back to Maui and see what's up. I'm not scared of Colorado. If we lose to Colorado, we're sorry. We cannot lose to that team.
Fair. Knowing our history, that is a team we would lose to. That's all I'm saying. It's like you beat them already. You kind of go out flat, and then boom, you're on the road. It's over.
I'm not super impressed by Iowa's numbers. Iowa would beat Colorado by 15. We can't lose to Colorado.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't know, dude. We got Baylor right after Colorado.
Home game. We don't lose at home.
It's a brand new year, man. We don't know what's going to happen in 2025. I like the conference, though.
Protect Hilton. Keep winning.
I think I like Utah. I don't know. Yeah. Time will only tell. What am I doing getting ahead of myself?
We have a game to win on Thursday.
Yeah. That's it. And honestly, you brought up that point. I think Iowa too knows that we don't play people for a minute. So I feel like they know, hey, if we beat these guys, it's going to sting a bit longer. So, hey, put them away fast. That's the key.
Go to work.
We already did it in football. That's the thing. That's the problem. When we do it in football, we usually don't do it in basketball. Please end the narrative this year. That's all.
Take care of business.
That's it.
All right. Go Clones. Let them cook.